Welcome to the NWR Resources Virtual Conference. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and first up today we have Matador Mining. ASX code is MZZ. It's a gold exploration company with tenure covering 120 kilometres of continuous strike along the highly prospective, yet largely underexplored Cape Ray Shear project in Newfoundland, Canada. Joining us today is their chairman, Ian Murray. Ian, great to see you up there in Canada. Over to you. Tell us the Matador Mining story.
Thanks, Kerry. Let me just share my screen and get the presentation up and then talk you through it. Oops. Technical hitch there.
Oh, that's all right. It's always technical hitches every now and again. It's live, ladies and gentlemen. There we go.
There we go. Hopefully you can see that one.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Good to go.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll talk you through this because we've got 20 minutes and then some Q&A. So I think in a snapshot, just as an introduction, ASX listed company, plus we are listed on the OTC in the US because our project is in Newfoundland in Canada. Market cap around 80 million Australian, cash in the bank, most important, 22 million Australian at the end of June. We raise money through the Canadian charity flow-through model. So that means that we raise money at a premium to the market price, which is great, less dilution for shareholders. Two good quality North American shareholders on the register now, Franklin Templeton at 5% and Sentry, which is otherwise known as CI Financial at 7%. So the North American shareholding growing with quality names over there, plus the Australian institutions and the European institutions. We're busy with a 45,000 meter diamond drill program, but that's one of 3 exploration strategies we're driving, or layers of exploration. So there's a massive heli-mag program we've completed. We've also got our auger program with Winky drills carrying on, plus then we do the diamond drilling. So I'll talk you briefly through those so people can get to understand it. Quick on the board for those who don't know, myself as chairman, ex-Gold Road, non-execs Justin Osborne, who was with me at Gold Road, Mick Wilkes, one of the best project builders in the industry, and Nikki Adshet-Bell from Canada, well-known PhD geologist, been on the buy side and the sell side. And from the technical in management, Warren Potmer as exploration manager, very good structured geologist, and Keith Bowes as our project manager, doing all the project study work in the background. So for those who don't know, Newfoundland is on the east coast of Canada. I'm currently here. I left Australia end of June and I've been over here for the last few months. Our project is in red there. This is the southwest of Newfoundland, 120 strike kilometers of tenement. North of us on the same shear zone, Marathon Gold have got 4.8 million ounces of gold, and they'll start their development next year. So we're on exactly the same structure. We've got 840,000 ounces, but as I'll show you on the next slide, we've only explored within 15 kilometers out of our 120 strike kilometers. Newfoundland is the go-to place in Canada at the moment. There are 75 TSX listed companies doing something on the island of Newfoundland. Of those 75, only 4 have got mineral resources. We are one of those 4. Obviously, Marathon's got 4.8 million ounces. We've got 840,000 ounces, and then there are 2 others with small resources. So we've got an advantage over the others. The company with the largest value there is a company called Newfound Gold, which is worth about $1 billion, but they don't have any resources yet. So tenement is hard to come by now in Newfoundland, but we've got the front seat because we've been there for about 4 years now with 120 strike kilometer tenement holding over the Cape Ray project. So zooming into our tenement, so that area in red, and you've got the 4 bubbles, which are our current resources there. Those are over a 15 kilometer strike length. The rest of the area has hardly been explored. And the reason they haven't been explored is the only exploration that's occurred there prior to Matador having these tenements is where the mineralization outcrops at surface. 90% of this tenement is covered in shallow transported material, which masks the bedrock. Because of that, previous explorers haven't explored there. We've got the tools through the aeromag, the auger drilling and the diamond drilling to see through the transported material and make discoveries. And we've already made those discoveries, which I'll show you in the presentation. So just to highlight some of the gaps, if you can see the cursor, between Window Glass Hill, which is 250,000 ounces, and Big Pond, which is a small 20,000 ounces, but good grade at 5 grams per ton, there's a 4-kilometer gap, never been explored. We've tested that, and we've got 6 new targets in that area alone. Between Central Zone, which is 500,000 ounces, and Island Moor to the north, there's a 7-kilometer gap, never been tested because of the transported material. We're currently testing that at the moment. So that highlights where close to the current resources, there hasn't been testing. This is a photograph of Port aux Basques, the town that I'm currently doing this call from. It's a major port. It's where the ferry comes in from the mainland, Nova Scotia, into this port. Our project is 25 kilometers away. So when I built the Gruyere project, we had to truck materials 1,200 kilometers in Western Australia. Here we are 25 kilometers from a major port. We also have access to renewable energy. The hydropower on the mainland feeds the island with electricity. So from an ESG perspective, we're in the front seat again. We're tapping into hydropower and renewable hydropower from day one. Local government, provincial government, First Nations groups are very supportive of exploration and development. They're wanting mining, exploration and development in the mining industry to be the new growth sector on the island and to create employment and economic growth for the island. So it's a great place to operate in. So focusing on our exploration currently underway, and as I mentioned, 45,000 meter diamond program, 2 diamond rigs currently drilling, double shift, plus 2 Winky drills, which are auger rigs built on the back of ATVs, plus 3 handheld auger rigs, together with the Aeromag program. So a very big program that we're currently busy with. This image, bottom image on the right, that shows our tenements, 120 strike kilometers. But zoomed in is the area we're currently focusing on, which only covers about 25 kilometers. That area has been identified because it contains our existing resources, plus we extend that by another 10 kilometers to the northeast, because we believe anything found in this area could be trucked into a central processing plant. We've already done a scoping study over the existing resources. We did publish that in May last year, which shows that the existing resources are very economic, very quick payback, low operating costs. However, the current project life is 7 years, and given the exploration success that we're getting, we want to do further exploration and grow our minimum mine life to greater than 10 years. Hence the strategy now to discover open pittable deposits within trucking distance of a central processing plant. So that's the focus for this year's exploration. And the way that we're doing our exploration, which is different to what's ever been done here before, is firstly magnetic surveys. We flew mag surveys earlier this year, 30-meter spaced lines. So the lines are 30 meters apart, 25 meters above the ground, 16,000 line kilometers of magnetic data. It's the highest resolution magnetic data done on the island ever. And we've covered half of the tenement that we haven't explored yet. And next year we'll cover the other half of the tenement. So with the mag that we've just completed earlier this year, we've got 3 main target areas: target area 1, target area 2, target area 3. I won't go into these in detail, but then I'll be talking for another half an hour, but I'll show you what we've done. So the first step is do the mag, identify, do we have the right structures under the transported material? So zooming in on target area number 1. The next step in our exploration strategy is to roll out these Winky drill rigs. So on the left here, you've got an auger rig built on the back of an ATV, so it can get to all the remote areas. It can drill through the transported material. We take samples through the transported material, plus we then take a sample from the top of the fresh rock. Excuse me. I've been talking all day. And what we did last year, we identified what are the pathfinder elements associated with gold on the Cape Ray Shear. And what we've got is zinc, arsenic, copper, tungsten, lead, bismuth. And these can be found up to 100 meters away from where we have gold in the system. So we don't have to find gold to know that we're close to a gold system. If we find any of these pathfinder elements, we know that we're within 100 meters of where a gold system is. So with these auger rigs, we drill lines 200 meters apart, and on that line, we drill holes 50 meters apart. So to show you what we've achieved in this area, and I mentioned it before, between Big Pond, which is 20,000 ounces at 5.4 gram per ton, and Window Glass Hill, which is 250,000 ounces, there's a 4-kilometer gap, never been explored. Within this area, we did blind drilling with the auger rig, where we've got the good structures from the magnetics. We've identified 6 targets for further follow-up. I'll just highlight in this area, you can see in the background image, there's an S-bend in the structures with the geologists like. Where the dots are is where we've got the current resource. We hit 3.8 gram per ton and 0.6 gram per ton. And again, you people might say, oh, but that's low grade. This is auger drilling. This is geochemistry. It's not diamond drilling. This is drilling and getting 20 centimeters at the top of the fresh rock. To get that in blind, random drilling is very, very encouraging for us. We've also hit a 54 gram per ton in this blind drilling. So 6 targets with elevated gold and elevated pathfinder elements that we then bring the diamond rig in and drill. On this next image is just, again, in this area that hasn't been drilled, we've got the Window Glass Hill resource, 250,000 ounces. We've now worked out that that's hosted on the Window Glass Hill granite. So it's a granite structure that hosts this resource. The granite structure extends for 3 kilometers. The current resource only has been tested over less than half of that area, maybe even a third of that total area. So we haven't tested the full granite area. We've now identified the granite through the magnetic surveys. We then did auger drilling, which showed there's something happening on the edge, on the boundary between the granite and the sediments. We tested, we put 4 drill holes in a row across there, and we announced that a few weeks ago. I'll just point out hole CRD214, 90 meters at 4 gram per ton. Below that, we then had 6 meters at 1 gram. Then we had another system of lower grade. Then we had 2 meters at 1.6 and then 4 meters at 1.9. So this is outside the current resource area on the boundary between the granite and the sediment. And given that the window glass granite is 3 kilometers long and the granite boundary has never been tested before, we've got 6 kilometers of granite boundary to test. We've done 2 lines so far. Every drill hole on both of those lines has come back with good grade and good width. So an analogy in Western Australia is King of the Hill. That's on this granite sedimentary boundary, and that's multi-million ounce deposit. So we know we've got 250,000 ounces already. We've never tested the boundary. We haven't tested the rest of the window glass hill granite. And how was this identified? Combination of the magnetics, the auger drilling, the diamond drilling. So the exploration strategy does work. Just moving on quickly, we've also pegged additional tenement in this area called Hermitage. So our main structure is the Cape Ray Shear, hosting 840,000 ounces of gold. Through the work we did last year, we identified the pathfinder elements for gold on our belt. That includes antimony. We've got a big antimony anomaly at this Hermitage project area. Our Newfoundland-based geological team identified this for us, identified that we got the same pathfinder elements were discovered here by Teck, Falconbridge, and Inco when they were looking for big base metal systems. This area has never been tested for gold before. We've pegged it. We'll be testing it for the first time next year. So good, using the science first. Let's identify the right areas for testing and then go in and test with the diamond drilling. So if we look at the work that we're doing this year, and we're probably 2/3 of the way through our drill program, we're busy with the studies and permitting work. So that is, we did the scoping study last year. We're preparing to be ready for a PFS once the resource size has grown to be sufficient for the board to press that button. So met test working, geotechnical drilling, groundwater assessment, tailing storing facilities, and surface water is being modeled in the background. Most importantly, we're busy with our environmental assessment study work, because we'll submit that in August of next year. We're busy wrapping up the baseline studies. We'll then write up the chapters. While I'm over here, we're having the community meeting so that the community is fully aware of what we're doing and what the potential of this area is in terms of job creation and economic benefit. In the brownfields drilling, so this is, can we grow the current 840,000 ounces to sufficient resource within trucking distance to give us 10-year mine life at least 100,000 ounces of gold production? So that's the diamond drilling, the targets that we already identified: Window Glass Hill, the Window Glass Hill granite boundary, Window Glass Hill deeps, where we can find additional structures at depth, Isle of Mort, which is a small resource but good grade, Big Pond, where we've identified 6 new structures in that area. One of the things that's really helping us is our quick assay turnaround time. I attended the Precious Metal Summit in Beaver Creek last month, and everybody was talking about assay turnaround time of 12 to 16 weeks. We're getting 5 to 6 weeks because SGS, the laboratory that does our testing, have delivered a sample preparation unit to our core shed. So they prepare the samples right next to our core shed, send off a few 100 grams of pulp to their main lab for testing. They're not sending off kilograms of diamond core. That's giving us 5 to 6 week turnaround, which allows us to do the auger drilling, and 4 weeks after that to be drilling with the diamond rig. We are also planning our first winter program, but again, it's planning stage. We'll wait for the season to end and then kick that off later in January. Greenfields to me is the most exciting. As mentioned, most of our tenement, 90% is under transported cover. We haven't explored under it. Nobody's explored under it. We've got the aeromag completed, phase 1 completed, the highest definition aeromag ever done on the island, identified 3 great targets for us to test. We're now testing those targets with the auger rig. And as I showed you in the previous slides, the auger is showing the right, that there's gold in the system. We follow that up with diamond drilling, and we're hitting very good grades and very good widths. So the greenfields is going on. We've got these great targets to test. That'll carry on this season, winter, and into next season as well. We've listed on the OTC market, so the North American investors who don't invest, those who cannot invest through the ASX will invest through the OTC. We're trading about 10 to 15% of the volume we trade on the ASX, which is great. We've also listed in Frankfurt for the European investors. So we're trying to just market more. And again, I'm over here doing more marketing, broadening our shareholder base to include more North American investors. In summary, compared valuation-wise, we are cheaper than our peers, both our peers listed on the TSX and our peers listed on the ASX. But on top of that, we've got all the greenfields exploration upside, which these companies do not offer. So Kerry, in a nutshell, that is the presentation. Market cap just under $80 million, cash of $22 million in the bank, 2 diamond rigs, 2 Winky drill rigs, 3 handheld auger rigs, a massive aeromag program, a full camp, very, very active exploration going on for probably the next 6 weeks.
Thanks, Ian. Really, really good presentation and nice to see it. Now, before I keep talking and asking questions, for those of you that are listening right now, if you want to ask a question, please enter it in the Q&A panel within Zoom. You'll see the little Q&A panel down the bottom. But I've always got plenty of questions, haven't I, Ian? Whereabouts are you? Because it's Newfoundland, which can get awfully cold. I see you sitting up there with a nice warm jacket on. Do you have to stop work during the winter months? And when is that? How long for? And what do you do in those winter months to keep that news flow going?
Yeah. I think the first thing is we've got such a big program at the moment that we're going to have news flow carrying on for probably another 2 months after we stop drilling, because there's the assay turnaround, then there's an interpretation. And the one thing that we did at Gold Road, and we're doing the same in Matador, is we don't release piecemeal drill results. Wait for the geologist to get the drilling from an area, they assess it, what does it tell them, and then we put out an informative announcement to the market explaining what our interpretation is of those results. So So we finished drilling, was probably mid-November towards late November when it gets too cold, when the snow starts coming in.
Right.
So we'll have news flow after that. But we are planning a winter drill program. We've never done a winter drill program. The difference between Newfoundland and mainland Canada is it doesn't get as cold here. So the ground doesn't freeze up as much as it freezes on mainland Canada. So we have to be very careful. So what we're looking at is compacting the snow once it falls, compacting the snow and having it drilling in a defined area that we've already made sure it's safe. There's no bogs. The road is compacted. So the drill rig's not going to fall into the mud and get stuck. So we are looking at a winter program, but we're going to make sure that it's safe. And if we do it, we'll probably kick off second half of January once it's cold enough, and it will probably carry on for 6 weeks. And then once spring starts, we'll have the break, let the snow melt and everything get settled, and then come in with the new program, probably starting, same as we did this year, starting in about May.
Ian, thanks for that. Ian, your background, Gold Road, and I remember all the talk around Gold Road and, you know, what we do. Does this project really excite me? Because I feel like you're pretty excited about this. Marathon Gold is just up the road from you. They've got a very big resource up there. Are you on the same geological structure? And is this exciting you to the upside? Give me your view. You've been in this industry for a while. Why Matador? What's it showing you that it's shown you to the upside?
So when you and I first met, Gold Road hadn't found Gruyere. We were doing we were doing the targeting, which is exactly where Matador is at the moment. It's got a very prospective tenement holding over the Cape Ray Shear. Yep. Previously, all the exploration, all the geologists went back and drilled out the known resources. And you're not going to make a step change for a company by drilling up known resources. So do the targeting, find new areas where you've got potential to host big systems, and we've done that through the aeromag. And then to confirm that there's gold in the system, we test that with the auger, and then we come in with the diamond drilling. So in Gold Road, we did the targeting, and then we came up and we discovered 7 million ounce Gruyere project. I'm not saying there's a 7 million ounce deposit here, but on the same Cape Ray Shear zone, you've got 4.8 million ounces to the north on the same structure. That's not in one deposit. Think of it as a string of pearls. You've got a series of open pits that Marathon will mine and truck into a central process plant. At central zone, we've got 500,000 ounces of gold across 3 open pits, a string of pearls. The total strike length there is 1.5 kilometers. We've then got a gap, and then we've got Window Glass Hill, 250,000 ounces. We now have identified that the Window Glass Hill granite is 3 kilometers long, and we've got the granite boundary that's never been tested before. How big could that be? We don't know. We're drilling to test it. But I think similar to Marathon, we could have a string of pearls of open pit projects that can be trucked into a central process plant. Then we go further south to Big Pond, and we know we've got 20,000 ounces there at 5.4 grams per ton, fantastic grade. But we've now got 6 new targets in that area that have never been tested. And when we look north of central, it's exactly the same. We've got these gaps that have never been tested. We're busy testing them now. So I think we'll end up not with one deposit that's 5 million ounces, but I think we could have the potential here, a series of open pits, a string of pearls, adding up to multi-million ounces of gold, because you don't have 4.8 million ounces in one area and nothing else in the belt.
Yeah, and along the same structure. Now, I think somebody's quite jealous of you, Ian, because they've asked if you're going to be spending most of your time up in Canada. And I'm sure it's from Graham, and he's probably sitting here in Australia saying, how did you get out? Now, are you coming back, or are you going to be spending most of your time up there marketing the company?
Well, the truth is my return ticket got cancelled thanks to the Australian government's policy. So I can't come back at the moment. I'm waiting to have tickets rebooked. So yes, I get enthusiastic when I hear the federal government talking about international borders opening, and then I hear about the West Australian state premier saying not until the second quarter next year. So when will I come back? I've got no idea. It's not in my hands anymore. So while I'm here, let me do the marketing in North America. Let me spend time with the project. Let me spend time with the government. Let me spend time with the First Nations groups, because for the last 15 months, 18 months, I haven't been able to travel to the project. So I'm doing a lot of catch up now. And it's important for people to see who the management in the flesh.
Absolutely.
And I'm really enjoying it here. It's a beautiful part of the world. The people are incredibly friendly, and it's highly, highly prospective.
Now, we are running out of time. I'll just reiterate again, if you want to ask a question of Ian while he's here live, make sure you put it in the Q&A. In the meantime, I'll keep asking questions because I got lots. You mentioned that the government and environment-wise, it's very friendly, it's very mining friendly, etc. Are there any challenges, or are they saying, listen, Matador, we love what you're doing, like any environmental challenges or things that you might think might hold the project up at all?
Yeah. No, so the biggest issue is salmon. So going through the shear zone is the Isle of Mort River, which is a scheduled salmon river. So any development we do has to be 200-meter buffer away from the rivers. Any water treatment has to be to the standard that when we return water to the waterways, it's the same standard as when we took the water out. So that was taken into account in the scoping study. We had some engineering guys that I was taking around the project today. That's absolutely the focus. We will not develop a mine if it's going to harm the environment. As mentioned, we've got access to renewable hydro, fantastic. We don't have to build a diesel genset or gas-fired power stations as you do in Western Australia or West Africa. We tap straight into the grid and tap into renewable energy. We will make sure that we build the project responsibly. The First Nations groups and even the locals, they all hunt in this area. So we will make sure that we do things responsibly, and we will do no harm. So it's, as everybody says. So yeah, it can be done and it will be done.
I'm slightly jealous hearing about the salmon rivers because I bet there'll be a bit of salmon fishing going on over there, Mr. Murray. Last question before we've got to finish up. Ian, again, you've been in the gold industry for a long time. You know me, I'm a bit of a gold nerd. It's struggled a little bit over the past 12 months. You and I both know this. I'd love your view, where you think, I guess your view on gold over the medium term, because gold equities, massive leverage to the gold price. If we see the gold price come up a little bit, equities have a wow over time. What's your view?
Oh, very, very simple. Inflation is real. It's not, as I said, transitory. Inflation is real. I've spent time in Europe, 4% inflation month on month. That is hyperinflation. And gold is your best insurance against inflation. Yes, it hasn't moved yet, but we all know that gold moves in step changes, and suddenly you're going to have $150 to $200 correction. I think gold should be over $200 US an ounce based on what we're seeing around the world. With
you mean 2,000, not 200?
Sorry, yeah, $2,000 an ounce, given the quantitative easing, the massive $3 trillion of
it's coming up
of money that's come in through since COVID started. Plus, you're seeing massive inflation. So yes, I believe gold will correct. It'll correct in a step change manner, and position yourselves with physical gold and gold stocks so that you benefit from it.
Yeah, because it's the leverage with gold equities. Ian, it is fantastic to see you looking all rugged up over there in Canada. As I said right at the start, ladies and gentlemen, the ASX code is MZZ. Right now, as Ian just said, is the time to get yourself set for the future of the gold price and gold equities. Ian Murray, Chairman of Matador Mining, thank you so much for joining me at the NWR Virtual Resources Conference.
Thanks, Kerry. Cheers.